Hi, and welcome to Soda Talk, a podcast about filmmakers and the things they are up to. I'm Robert Thomas. Today in the studio, I'm joined by Luke Schrader and Ashlyn Farney, and our guest today is...
My name is Piper Prichard. I'm a graduating senior, and I am a filmmaker.
So, Piper, has film always been something that's interested you? Were you like the kid giving direction to other kids on the playground, or did you kind of fall into it later on?
So the depiction of the playground, yes.
Yeah.
But more of a teaching standpoint. My mom's a teacher, and so I used to always tell my teachers they weren't teaching correctly and try to take charge of the classroom.
Sure.
But I actually got more into writing, especially in middle school, and so I wanted to write books for the longest time.
Yeah.
But in high school, there was a moment where someone was like, well, books are dying. You need to get into actual media. And I said, books still live in my heart. So I don't know what you're talking about. But
what a wild stance to take. There will be no more books in 10 years.
I was like, are we living in Fahrenheit 451?
Yeah.
Like, what's happening?
Big yikes.
But I took a creative writing class in high school, and we had two options. You could do fiction writing or poetry. And I said, could I do script writing? Could we branch off and I do because it was kind of at your own pace. And I was like, well, I want to start trying to do script writing initially for theater, because I was a mega theater kid since I was 10. But it kind of got to the point where I had all these big ideas for a stage play that just couldn't work.
Yeah.
Things that would have to be put into film. And so I watched a lot of YouTube channels at the time that would do skit videos. And so I was like, oh, perfect. I could be a YouTube star. It'll be fine. So I started a YouTube channel with some friends in high school. It's the cringiest stuff. It no longer exists, by the way. The channel's still there, but all of the videos are privated, and only I can see them for very good reasons.
You gotta release that.
No.
You gotta stand by your old work.
Never.
Never?
Not that work.
I don't know.
So I did that for a while, and everyone was like, oh, you have a knack for it. You have ideas. And so I was like, well, I don't really know what I want to do. And for a long time, I also looked at going into mass communications, newscasting and doing journalism as a main career. I decided to shadow at a local news station for a couple days and decided, never mind.
What was it about it that you didn't like?
For me, it was, I don't think I'm comfortable prying people about their personal life to get information. And that was something I learned very quickly, because while I was at the news station, there was a big story that happened here in Wichita that involved swatting in a video game. And of course, I'm at the age in high school where I have tons of friends who play video games.
Right.
And so they were like, you're a perfect age, call your friends, get them in for interviews. And I was like, okay. But it felt weird to be like, hey, we don't talk, but I know you play video games, come in. And I still talk to some of the news reporters from that station.
Yeah. But
when I've had stuff come up in terms of life, they would then try to make a story out of my stuff. And I had to say, I don't know. For me, I just wanted something more creative as well, not something cookie cutter or scraping the barrel to find something to have a news story over. And I just felt like I didn't want to do that. And I still missed being able to have creativity in what I was writing. I've never been one that just likes the cookie cutter boring stuff. I just don't think that was what I was meant to do. So I looked at a bunch of different colleges, and I was still looking at mass communications because I was like, well, maybe advertising, maybe something like that, and came across Chakra Studios. Fun fact, the whole reason I chose this school was because there was an Alice in Wonderland mural out in the lobby.
That's hilarious.
I've always been connected with Alice in Wonderland as a story, as a film and book. And I saw that, and it was the last school that I was looking at, because I had looked at Baker University, KU, all that. And I was like, this is the one. And Mom was like, are you sure? We haven't even started the tour yet. And I was like, this is the one. And so it kind of just worked out from there.
That's great.
And I've kind of grown into the editing like I used to do with my YouTube videos and the writing for it. And I've kind of just evolved that while I'm here. So it just I kind of just made my way in kind of some putty and cracks, you know?
Sure. So that's a good segue. So you've talked about, how writing was a big focus for you, and that you kind of focused on editing and growing your editing ability. What do you think you came in here with as an idea of like what it means to be a filmmaker, and where are you now?
Hey, Bob. We forgot to turn on the WSU sign. Does that bother anyone else? Do you want me to turn that on now?
Yeah, turn it on now.
Okay.
Didn't want to cut you off because your story was wonderful. We didn't want to cut you off.
Well, bling.
Yay.
We're good to go now.
Okay. Starting about, okay.
I'll throw you the question again.
Thank you.
So that's actually a really good segue. So you've talked about how, the YouTube led you into editing more, and you focused on that while you were here, and how writing was one of the first avenues in. What do you think you came in here with as an idea of what it meant to be a filmmaker, and how has that idea maybe shifted or changed in the 4 years you've been here?
When I first came in to be a filmmaker, I kind of thought that you had to be great at absolutely everything. So I stressed myself to try and learn everything that I could learn to be perfect in every avenue of film. So audio, editing, writing, pretty much everything. I was like, I am going to be the jack of all trades. I will be the godly filmmaker, and no one can stop me. And that is very not how that goes.
Sure.
I don't like audio. I've learned very quickly, after my first year of trying to master audio and understand it, that I just will not touch it.
Yeah, audio is one of those things that if you do like it, you will work, because it is very challenging and hard, and a lot of people just cannot do it. So if you're I want to be a writer and director, but I'm also kind of interested in sound, pursue sound, because you'll get on tons of sets and you'll learn quickly.
I thought I knew already quite a bit about film, and I already had an idea, because when I was back doing my YouTube channel stuff, I did research all the time of how to make fancy edits, how to color, how to do all that kind of stuff, because I wanted high quality work. But then I came here and I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I sat down, I think in one of my intro classes, and I was like, what's happening? Am I sure this is what I'm wanting to do right now? So I think I kind of just learned that through being here, you can be really good at one thing and that be your niche, but also be willing to do other things too. I'll still do boom operation. I know how to do it, but when it comes to anything audio editing, I tell people straight up, you do not want me on set.
Sure.
But I think for me, it's finding the thing that you're most passionate about. That way you can put your full into the work that you're doing. So I really enjoy writing, and I've written a couple different scripts for some of my friends to film, and I really enjoy doing cinematography. And I, whenever I have the opportunity to be a DP on someone's work, I'd love to, because I know that's what I enjoy doing. I like having the image and being able to put it out there.
Yeah.
And those are what I put my most time and effort putting that into, to be able to perfect those as much as I can, or continue to learn from those. But I think you could be a filmmaker no matter what you want to do and what you want to make. It's just also finding the confidence to say, this is who I am as a filmmaker. You either like me or you don't. And I think that was also a really hard thing for me to learn. And I know it's a hard thing for a lot of people to learn, because I think also coming in, it was kind of this is what a filmmaker is, this is what they do. This is kind of the overall expectation of wanting to do film. But there's no expectation. The expectation, at least from what I've learned, is you're happy with your work and you're confident in your work. If you're not, then what's the point in doing it?
I love that. That's great. So let's talk about some of that work. So, college is coming to a close for you with your Practicum 3. You've shot it. It was the big project. But what other projects stand out to you when you look back that you've worked on that kind of set you up for success here? Did you do any projects before college?
The most that I had really did before college is I did a couple weddings.
Okay.
When some of my family and some of my friends knew that I liked making YouTube videos, and they're like, "Oh, you have an idea of at least videography.
Yeah. You have a camera.
You have a camera. You can film, right?" And I was like, "Yeah, totally." So I did some wedding videography before coming in, and I think that's something that I've been really also focusing on is my wedding videography. I love weddings.
Yeah.
That is like a hot take for some people because some people hate weddings, but I love weddings.
Yeah, could not be me.
Like
I hate it unless whenever people approach me, I'm like, if you want me to yell cut during your, vows and back to one, yeah, I'm your guy. Otherwise, find someone else.
Yeah, I enjoy weddings. And so I've done a couple weddings now, and I'm constantly looking to shadow people for weddings because I like to learn things from weddings. One of the first big projects, which honestly was only probably 2 years ago, which is weird to think about, it was my second time partaking in Tallgrass's Take 36.
Yeah.
And the first time was right after COVID. We were all doing it at our house. None of us slept. None of us had an idea of what was going on. So we did not make it into the top 10 for that one.
Sure.
But the second time we did it, I had a good team of people that I enjoyed at least hanging out with and being around because I knew at least the vibes would be okay, even if we weren't sure what we were making. And we made a short film for that called Hottest News in Town because that summer, that weekend in particular that we shot for Take 36, it was the hottest weekend of that summer. We had to have like a certain location that we had to meet the requirement for.
Yeah,
and it was
roundabout, right?
Yeah, the roundabout down in Delano District at the Clock Tower. And it was hot. And all we could think of when we were writing the night before, they were like, Piper, you're going to write it. I was like, cool, great. And I was so exhausted. The heat had gotten to me that day because I had to work before Take 36. And someone had made the joke like, we just need to blow up the sun. If we blow up the sun, then no hot. Hot would not exist. And I said, oh my God, that's such a stupid remark.
Let's
go.
But
that works.
Yeah.
And so we just made a fake news broadcast about a social media influencer who decided to start a riot in the Delano district saying that we needed to blow up the sun because the sun is what causes all of our problems.
Sure.
And we were terrified because there was another team who did a news broadcast for their Take 36 and they showed first and we're like, oh, there's no way we're getting in.
They wouldn't pick
they wouldn't
news.
pick two.
Yeah.
And so we were sitting there and I think it was one of the last ones to show. And I think I was sitting there like, oh my God, we made it. And I was just sitting there like, and then the whole time I was watching it, I was like, oh, this isn't as exciting as I was hoping it would be. Look at all those mistakes. Yeah. I said, everyone in the Orpheum is watching this, and there's a moment where you see like toes at the bottom of the frame because it's a photo, and I made my boyfriend do that, and he's sitting next to me, and he's like, the entire Orpheum just saw my toes. And I said, yeah, they did.
Isn't that so true, though? Like, we pour so much into projects, and then as soon as you start showing them to people, you're like, how did I miss those flaws? Oh, no. Quick, burn everything. Let's go to Canada.
Exactly.
What was the takeaway from that project?
For me, I learned how to help organize chaos, like have chaos, because it was stressful having to do it in 36 hours, but also be able to keep a level head enough to organize it. Because I was the writer and director, but I'm the one that pulled all of these different people who had never met before, really. I just said, I know I like working with you, I like working with you, and I like working with you. And these are actors I know. And we just were like, okay, we'll make it work. And having to find a way to help everyone organize their thoughts to where we could communicate those throughout the weekend was very stressful, but I was able to learn techniques as well as like, I know our first time doing Take 36, because we've done it 3 times now, there was no organization and everyone was mad. There were no breaks. We were just trying to push through it and make this big thing that didn't work. And I was like, listen, guys, it is break time. I need you to drop what you're doing and go eat before any of you get hangry with me because I'm not dealing with it.
Very cool. So what other projects stand out to you?
I did work with a organization for half of the time that I was in college called Assez Sauvos, and their whole thing is providing resources for those in the community whose first native language isn't English, having actual trained translators in the medical field. That way when people come in and they aren't able to communicate, they have someone there to help them, especially like in emergency rooms, big appointments, because obviously even having to bring your kid to like a doctor's appointment to translate for you can be really hard, and especially because there's a difference between formal and medical translation and casual translation, which makes a very big difference. And so I worked with them for about 2 years, And my whole thing was recording people's testimonies about what they've dealt with in the medical field in terms of like mistranslation or lack thereof, just to be able to spread more awareness and be able to help those that are unable to speak out due to translation issues and language barriers.
That's awesome.
So that was something that I learned a lot from, because it was one of those things. Justin had made a posting for it because it's within WSU, and it probably sat in the Discord like call board for like a week or two, and I was like, well, no one's picking it up. I'm afraid, because I don't speak Spanish at all. But I was like, well, it's a good cause from what I was reading, and I was like, and I have the time, I'm gonna try to pick it up. And so I've been trying to learn Spanish as I've gone along, and I had no idea how to do an interview setup. I had no idea how to make any of that look nice. And recently I looked from the beginning of my videos with them to the very end, and there is a very big difference.
I love that.
And I met with them a couple days ago, actually, and we were talking about my final days with them and everything, and they talked about how my videos are going to be great prototypes as they continue, because it's still a fairly new organization. They're constantly growing in numbers and growing in what they're doing with grants and everything else. So it's good to know that like what I worked on towards the beginning is something they'll be looking back on for a while. And I've met so many great people. I was able to do one of the members' sons' weddings. They booked me to do that. And have other opportunities through other organizations, because each person that's in that organization has an outside job, has, family that are getting married or doing things. And they're all very supportive and wanting me to be a part of their lives still past working there, which has been very nice. And they've given me the opportunity to learn a lot too.
That's great.
So yeah, I don't think there's any other narrative projects. I've done school projects, those are always something in itself.
What do you mean by that?
I feel like this might be like, it may just be me, but it may also be as a whole. I had a tendency, like if it was a class project, I did not put 100% into it. I was like, I just need that grade. I need to get it done. I was more stressed about everything else going on.
So I will tell you, Piper, this is a secret. It's between you and me. Everyone else, plug your earmuffs on. We have done 4 of these so far. These podcasts with our seniors, and you are the 4th to say that. It's something about the posture that we take as artists when we take ourselves seriously versus when we don't. And for whatever reason, if it's a school assignment, it feels like the letter is more important than what we're actually making. And I hate that. I truly believe it's my job to figure out how to change that. But in the interim of like figuring out how to change that, like I am such a big proponent of getting you all to work on outside of class projects, because you do take yourselves so much more seriously as filmmakers, as artists. You take the project more seriously, you take more pride in it, and you learn so much more because of that. So like, I think you're selling yourself short. You've worked on a lot of outside projects. You helped me with Do It Again. You were the AD on Christmas Dish this semester while you were dealing with your Prac 3. There have been many an opportunity that you haven't let pass you. You've jumped in. And it's been really fun and really cool to watch you grow as an artist each semester as you're doing those things. But yes, you're not alone in school assignments just kind of being, okay, what's the bare minimum I gotta do? Great, that's what I'm gonna do.
I think part of it is just beyond the fact that at least this is my mentality, because I'm like it even with things at home. Like if my mom sees this, she would agree. Yeah. If I'm told to do something, I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are that way.
So if someone's like, you have to make this 4-minute video about this, like this is your topic, this is what the parameters are, I'm gonna be like, ugh. But then like 2 weeks later, I'm gonna be like, you know what? I want to do something like that.
I want to make a 4-minute video.
I want to make a 4-minute video with the exact same parameters as my instructor gave me.
Yeah.
So like I think that's just a mentality thing, at least for me, and I'm sure other people as well. For sure. But yeah, I mean, because I've done, like, I guess that is, like, I did do Christmas Dish, and I did Do It Again, and Mason Love, another student, I've been his DP for both of his big projects, both Muffling in Our Walls and Relapse. I had to think about it for a second. It's Relapse.
Shout out Mason Love.
Yes. Honestly, Mason was one of the people that kind of gave me the chance to do a lot of more DP work.
Yeah.
Because I had to take a lot of breaks in school just due to like life and everything in general, that I was like very hesitant to try and jump into groups, because you find the people you like to work with, and those are the people you work with. And so that's why, like with my practicum, I tried to find people that don't do a lot of work. And I said, we're going to make something great, and this is going to be something you'll be proud of. Like, that's kind of just what I wanted to do with that. Because I know, like, for myself, like, having to try and weasel my way into groups that were already made was extremely hard.
Yeah, it's scary.
Exactly. And so having, like, Mason, he just immediately was like, well, I know that you have great ideas. I'll give you a chance to help out with DPing for Relapse. And since then, whenever he has a project that he needs, like, cinematographers for, he calls me and he's like, hey, I just want you to be my DP. And I'm like, great, I'll be there. It doesn't matter what it is. And we have two very different favorite genres.
Yeah.
He has a lot of more drama, serious things,
More thriller.
Yeah. And I'm over here like, I just like bubblegum pop romance. Like, I like comedy. So it's very interesting to take on the role of what he's wanting for the thrillers and the suspense and the dramas, to be able to do that. But we work well with one another on that too. That's
great. So that brings us to your practicum. How was it?
It was good, honestly.
How are you feeling about it at this point? So at the time of recording, you've already presented it. You've turned it in. You've passed. You've gotten your accolades. I think you have a private showing scheduled coming up, and then there'll be the public event in 2 weeks. Yeah, how are you feeling about it?
I'm good. It was a bigger project.
It was, wasn't it?
I think the one thing, like, I say it's a really big project, but my first semester I did work on a first episode of a web series I wanted to do, and that was about 25, almost 30 minutes as well.
Sure.
So my first semester I did that, and so the last semester I also did something long, and then everything else was like 5 minutes.
So how many pages was this? Well, first, pitch the project.
Oh, gosh. Do I have to look anywhere? Can I just...
Right there.
Right there?
Yeah.
I'm really terrible about pitching my stuff.
Well, great. Now's a chance to improve and work on
that. So my Practicum 3 film for my graduating... I can't talk.
You're doing great.
My Practicum 3 project is titled Clinically in Love. It is a romantic comedy that has 2 storylines, starting with a couple going to couples therapy to try and figure out their problems. And it is a film that is very dear to my heart, very close to me. And it was something that started off as a very simple storyline, one storyline only taking place in the therapist office. But I really wanted to challenge myself with this. And I said, how can I get to other locations without it just being a very long, like, time period? Like, I wanted the therapist to be within, like, an hour per se in movie time, rather than it be like, oh, this couple has been like going to therapy for weeks. No, I want it to be one therapy session, but having the second storyline that I incorporate in the film made it to where I could travel all over Wichita, like 10 plus locations to film. And it was a lot of fun. It was very stressful. Everything kept happening. If you ask any of my like cast and crew, almost every set day we had something go wrong.
Yeah, ER trips, everything.
ER trips, that was great. That was one where we had extras who had taken off work to come to this like fake party. Like, everyone was really supportive of it. And then my leg just stopped working, I guess.
Love that.
So I had to go to the ER, and my mom's like, it's okay, we'll figure it out. My first thought was, I gotta call Emily and Bella. Like, we have a film set. And so I was like half directing them while also just in the ER waiting room.
Crazy.
Like, they're like, we can just send people home. I said, don't you dare send those people home. It is hard enough to get extras.
Yeah.
Just shoot. Like, just do it. And luckily enough, like, I had Emily and Bella, and Sydney Alder was my intimacy coordinator, but she's done quite a bit of directing. And I had talked to her a lot about my film and kind of got on that same page of her of what I was wanting from it. So she was able to help me a lot on that, especially
Shout out
that
Sydney.
night. I love Sydney so
She's
much.
Great.
I love you.
How many pages was it originally?
Originally it was 38 pages.
38 pages. And is that the usual length for a practicum 3?
No. Absolutely not.
Absolutely not. We usually try to encourage people to live between the 8 and 12 minutes. It's an easy to program length if you want to do festivals afterwards. And we talked a lot about that, but you felt very strongly that you wanted to do an almost 40-page project.
Yes, I did.
How do you feel about that choice now?
Honestly, I don't regret anything with it. To be honest, because we did talk a lot about it. You're like, you could make it shorter. And I was like, I could, but I don't want to. And you're like, well, with like film programs, I was like, but I don't want to. And so it was one of those things where I felt very strongly like now I definitely I need to have this happen because I want to be like, haha, I did it. Because it was more proving something, I think, to myself more than anything, because I lacked a lot of confidence as a director, as a writer, and filmmaker for most of my college career, just because I was like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Like, I'm just kind of floating by. And so with this project, I just was kind of like, this is my chance to prove I have a single idea of what I'm doing. It may not be a full idea. It might be part of an idea, but at least that I have something.
Yeah.
So I was very strong on it being the length it was. And obviously, when I talked with you in my practicum review, there are things that I definitely think I could cut down a little bit. I probably will before
and you have already.
Yes.
What's the runtime?
Right now, it is running about 34 minutes with credits.
Yeah. So, and do you remember your first cut, how long it was?
My first cut, when I officially met with my editors, I want to say was probably pushing 40 minutes.
Right. So you have started doing that very difficult but necessary work of being all like, we spent an afternoon and I had people take off work to get this shot, but it's just not working. And that's so difficult. But you've already started doing that hard work and it's showing. But yeah, there's probably a few spots where you could, be a little more aggressive with the cutting tool. But what's the big takeaway for you from the Practicum 3? Like you talked about, you didn't have a lot of confidence going in. Do you feel like you are a more confident filmmaker now?
I think I'm more confident on putting my foot down on choices I make. And it's one of those things that a lot of things I did when I was, first starting out, especially here at Wichita State, I kind of was like, oh, you didn't like that? We can change that. Or, oh, you don't like how that looks? Yeah, we should go with your idea. Or I just was kind of, in the nicest way, a pushover when it came to filmmaking.
Sure.
And I kind of adopted the idea that it was something you could probably ask other people too on set. I think some of them, Emily, got kind of frustrated with me because I got to the point where I was like, if you're confident in your work, I'll be confident in your work too. Because there was a moment where Bella was setting up a shot. It was seeming kind of iffy on it. And I said, would you want this in your reel? And she was like, no, and moved it. And I said, there we go. It worked. And it was something to where we kind of got on the same page about what we wanted too, because we would have really long talks about there's a scene with the transition from the TV to the argument scene. That has been in that since the first script format of it. Right. And I was like, we have to make this work. And that was the one thing that I was very stubborn on.
Yeah, let's talk about that because I think that was executed very well. I think that it turned out very successfully. Were you happy with how it turned out?
Yes. I mean, part of it is because we did have someone that was supposed to work on it, but due to circumstances backed out. Yeah. And I had to have someone else help me kind of pick that stuff up. And we were very behind when it came to that particular scene. But it came out pretty much how I imagined it. I think there are things, obviously, I still want to tweak with it. But when I had put the script together, that was the first thing I thought. I was like, it would be so great because my mom, who plays the therapist, she always told me, you have to remember, life's not like the movies. You can't do that. And I was like, but what if it was, And so when writing the script, I was like, having that line in there with them doing something very cheesy, very rom-com, kissing in the rain, and then them going into an argument was what I really just, that transition, I was like, how do I transition it? And I was like, well, duh, it comes from the TV. That's how it needs to happen, but it has to be there.
Very cool. So, looking back from a less confident Piper to graduating Piper, what advice would you have for the freshmen, the underclassmen, the people thinking about film school?
just do it. Just get involved. I mean, you're not going to learn anything from just wondering and just thinking about it. And as someone who's a chronic overthinker, the more you think, the worse it gets. So if you don't want to necessarily jump in right away, like go hang out on set, be a PA. Go, be someone that they need someone to go grab ice cream or something. You go grab the ice cream for set. Involve yourself around other people because you can't do it all by yourself. Some people can do amazing things just doing it by themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Sure.
But there's also nothing wrong with saying, I need help and I want to be in a collaborative project and I want to do stuff with other people. Because I was one of the type that was like, I will do it all myself. I will take care of the writing, the directing, all of this, and I will act in it too, because that's what I did with my YouTube channel. And I was like, very like, I'm doing it myself. I don't need help. But with my practicum, I was like, I need help and I know what I want. And so it was one of those things where like, if you're a freshman or you're a senior in high school looking into film school, just start reaching out. I mean, I haven't met a lot of people who are like, no, you can't be on set as a PA. I will take PAs. I will take extra hands on set, even if it means like I'm having you run and go do things. Like, if you don't reach out, it's very hard to try and find your group of people too. Because if you're just waiting for an opportunity to hit, it's may or may not hit. It's kind of like, it might be like a 1 in a million chance that you get the opportunity that you want. And as a freshman too, I was very picky on like, well, I don't really want to be a camera operator, or I don't really want to do this or that. Just try. Even if you don't know, you can look at YouTube tutorials, you can reach out to faculty, you can reach out to other friends and stuff to help you so you can learn how to grow. But if you continue to turn things down, at least in my experience, it took me forever to grow as an artist because I was very picky on what I wanted. And once you find those people that you enjoy working with, you're going to be able to blossom and be able to work on things and be happy with it. But until you are in that atmosphere where you have the confidence to have a creative opinion, it's very hard to grow as an individual and grow as an artist. Because I feel like, at least in my case, you feed off of the people you surround yourself with. And if you surround yourself with people who enjoy film and enjoy like being a part of like a team, making creative work, then you're going to be able to learn from those people, see what you like and don't like, and adapt and continue to grow as well. And always be open to changing things. Always be open to, like even now, like I had someone help me with graduation photos, Sydney. I believe she's probably in one of your classes. I was telling her that I may need help taking some photos and setting up lights. And she's like, I'll be there. And she just showed up. Her and I've only talked like once or twice, but she's very on the nose about it. And I think if you're just open to doing things and meeting people, you're going to meet some amazing people and you're going to be able to do some amazing things, but you can't do that all by yourself.
I love that. Okay, so what's next for Clinically in Love?
I plan to try and make it, perfect it in a way that I'm happy, and I'll start sending it to festivals. I do realize it'll be kind of a harder pick just because it is a weird...
It just needs to find the right festivals.
It needs to find the right festivals, but I know it's an odd like number in terms of like how long it is. Yeah. But I know that if I find the right festivals in the right audience, people will enjoy it, and that's all I really want for that.
So for that audience, if they want to keep track of what's happening with you and your work, where should they be following you?
My main one is Instagram. It's actually my art Instagram, but I do post stuff on there for film as well, and that is Pipster, Pipster Creations, and that's on Instagram.
Nice. All right. Well, I could talk to you forever, Piper, but we both have a class to go to, so we're going to call it here. But thank you so much for coming in and talking today.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Soda Talk is a production of Wichita State University School of Digital Arts. It is produced today and always by the great Luke Schrader and Ashlyn Farney. Follow us on all our socials. Hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the cool stuff that we're doing here at the school. And we'll see you next time.